You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hello to everyone out there, and welcome back to another episode of Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. My name's Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
Seth.
I'm back.
What's going down? Cliff's back.
I'm back.
Guess who's back?
Back again. So yeah, fresh.
So they had to drag you out of Disney with your fingernail, your clawing at the gate.
That's how they drag you out of Disney, by one of your big ears.
Yeah. That's why they give you that extra set to wear on your head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gets a little harder to come back home every time.
Have a glow about you. You seem refreshed. You seem magical.
It's pixie dust. That's what it looks like at night. No, yeah, we did 8 days in Walt Disney World. Just me and Alicia and our daughter Carly. She's 14 now. And the older boy,
bless his soul, is preparing for his career.
College?
Carnival.
You gotta be proud.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, last season he was a pixie dust spreader on a tilt-a-whirl. He thinks that maybe next year he'll be guessing people's weight or barking for the yak woman.
But it was just the three of us, so a little different trip. First trip since the before times, and since the before times, and some changes, some different things since Bob Chapek has taken over and post-COVID and changed some stuff around and monetized.
You're not going to say anything critical about the Disney Corporation.
I kind of already did. So, but we can talk about it a little bit. But if you want the in-depth details of every restaurant we ate at and every attraction we rode, I put up a Patreon exclusive episode just today. It's available for our $5 and up patrons on Patreon. Patreon.com/udownwithkpp. So that's there if you want to listen to all about it and every little detail and what I thought about this and that. But yeah, this was definitely a different trip. Some different things. The fast pass system is gone. There's no dining plan currently, and those were things that were essential. I would have considered essential to my trip planning. At least the last decade. So things are definitely a little different. Crowds were pretty good, even though it was a holiday week. The week before Halloween. Got a little busy there the day before Halloween, our last day in the parks. But other than that, weather was pretty good. Just had a little bit of rain, but it's Florida. But it wasn't too hot. It was rather pleasant. And I think altogether we did 3 days at Magic Kingdom, 2 days at Epcot, 2 days at Studios, and 1 day at Animal Kingdom. Is how it shook out. So you do have to make park reservations now in advance. You can't just buy a ticket and go to a park anymore. You do have to have a park reservation for that day. And we didn't even do a park hopper this time. So we were just one park per day. That's all we did. We did several days where we went back to the room, kind of took an afternoon break or whatever. Just to, not wear ourselves too thin. But it's the 50th anniversary. October 1st, 1971, the park opened. Disney World is currently celebrating for the next 18 17 months. I'm sorry, 17 months now. They will be celebrating their 50th anniversary.
That's not how time works.
Yeah, it's it's an 18-month celebration to celebrate a yearly anniversary. Go figure that one out. But some pretty cool stuff. For the most part, some stuff that wasn't all, they really hyped up, that wasn't, maybe didn't live up to expectations on some of it, but overall it was really good. Felt really good to be back in the parks, and like I said, it'd been a couple years, which is an extremely long time for my family. So this was a much needed vacation. We had a lot of fun, had a lot of laughs, did a lot of stuff, ate a lot of food. All that. So yeah. Questions?
We just listened to that 2-hour breakdown you do on the Patreon. Want all the details.
That's it.
Hey, there was another 50th anniversary in October, from October 1971, just recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that
he's
18
struggling.
Months? Is that 18 months long as well?
Yeah, it's going to be an 18-month celebration. I turned 50.
Wow. Holy cow. Do you feel extra magical?
I do. I didn't realize till you said that was the same month I was born.
That's pretty crazy. I'll tell you another crazy thing from my trip that you guys already saw, but I'll let everybody in. There's a picture of from when you were a kid and with Christy, and you guys have the Cleveland Browns helmets on. And I always noticed in that picture, I've seen that picture.
I have no doubt. I've seen that picture a million times, and I never noticed. And you're like, that's all I ever noticed.
It's the only thing I ever saw in that picture. Christy's wearing a T-shirt, a very vintage Walt Disney World T-shirt, which got Mickey Mouse on it.
Very vintage.
And I found that T-shirt. They're currently selling it in a retro 50th anniversary collection in Magic Kingdom, and I sent you guys a picture of it on a mannequin, and I was like, "This is the exact same shirt," because
it's pretty amazing.
It was pretty cool. There was several items they had. They did that with. I talked about it a little bit on that Patreon episode, but it was a wild. One night it was after the fireworks, the park was closed, and even though it's officially closed, they stay open an extra hour to get people out of the park, give a little extra time to, if you want to grab,
get the hoses out.
Yes.
Get out of here.
No. They give you a little extra time to shop down Main Street and things like that. So we took advantage of that. We were going through the Emporium after the fireworks show and just kind of looking for some souvenirs and from different things. And I said, as we were walking out of that, let's go here across the street. I think they have the new vintage 50th collection over at the theater. So I walked in there and boom, I was like, there were things I was spotting, like just little items that they have remanufactured for this, that look exactly just like that T-shirt, look exactly like things I had seen in my childhood and completely forgotten about. And I picked up a couple cups, and they had the old back scratchers, some T-shirts, some just different things. And I was just like, oh my God, I had completely forgotten about this.
Blowing your mind.
It really did. I picked up this one cup, and I was like, oh my God, I hadn't thought about this thing in 40 years, but I had this. So I did pick up.
Nostalgia is a powerful drug.
It is. And they got me. Behind me here, you guys, you can't see it, but right up here, there is a original coffee cup my grandparents bought in 1982. It's from Epcot, the year it opened, and it has Figment on it. I have possession of that now. It's a fairly rare item, but I saw in that little shop, it's a white glass, kind of like what they would call like milk glass or whatever, for Fenton. It's that type of style. But I found the Magic Kingdom one for the 50th anniversary. It has the castle in Walt Disney World in like a gold foil on it, and it matches my Epcot one. So that came home with me as far as that old retro stuff did. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, but it
You
just
got
blew.
it bad. You got it bad for Disney.
But yeah, when I saw that
Having
t-shirt,
that is wrong. You don't want to be right.
yeah, that's right. But when I saw that t-shirt in the window, I was like, holy cow, that's that t-shirt from that picture. That's amazing. Amazing.
That's pretty funny.
Did Back to the Star Wars land, had they added anything since your first trip down there?
No, not really. I can't, other than the hotel getting ready to open, the Star Cruiser Hotel. That's really the only big project going on there. But it's still awesome. How
many new lightsabers did you buy?
I did not buy any lightsabers. It was tempting, especially the legacy lightsabers. Like, I mean, it would have been very easy for me to walk out of there with the Luke Skywalker lightsaber hilt from Return of the Jedi. I would have been willing to spend $200 on that, but I didn't. I did get to ride. We rode Rise of the Resistance twice. We rode it. Well, I rode it twice. We rode it once in the morning. First ride we hit in Hollywood Studios. And I rode it as the last attraction I rode in Hollywood Studios on my second day. I just rode it by myself because I had not ridden it just to experience it. Every time I've ever ridden it, I'm trying to make a video, or I'm taking pictures, and just not enjoying it. I mean, I love it. It's amazing. It's the best attraction I've ever rode, but the girls went back to the room one night. I had an hour left in the parks by myself. I told my wife, I said, hey, before I leave, I'm going to go try and get on Rise. And, because it was down and I just got lucky and it came back up and I got to ride it, before I left the park, and, thoroughly amazing experience. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Just by myself and an elderly couple that sat in the same row as me. And it's just amazing. Had a really good first time we rode the Falcon. Alicia she hadn't been a pilot before, so she got to sit in Chewie's seat and pull down the lever for light speed. We rode it another time, and we went through the single rider line, which means, all three of us went through the single rider, but normally you're just paired with a group that needs an extra person. Well, we got lucky. Alicia didn't get lucky. She went on with some other family. Carly and I ended up in the same group. I talk about this on the other episode, but Carly and I end up in a group with these 4 other people who did not speak any English. I'm pretty sure they had no idea what Star Wars was. And they had no understanding of the concept of the ride. So poor Carly and I, we are picked, we're the last 2 in the group, so we are the engineers. You have 2 pilots, 2 gunners, 2 engineers in your, the cockpit of the Falcon. So we are in the back. We are the engineers. Our job is just to push some flashing buttons next to us on the wall. That is all we do. The gunners at least get a more aggressive button pushing because they're firing the weapons. And of course the pilots control, the Falcon. They get to do the fun stuff. Well, the woman who is in the right side pilot in Chewie's seat, she just sits there. Immediately, I'm enraged. So she's just sitting there, and I'm like, I start yelling. Carly is laughing at me. I'm not aggressively yelling, but I'm like trying to help. Yeah. So I'm like, hey,
backseat driving.
Yeah. When, if it lights up green, push the button or pull it down or do what you got to do. Move the stick. She just sits there. The co-pilot just sits there. Now, after a couple seconds, he figures out that he's supposed to at least move the stick to control pilot the Falcon. So he's attempting it. The woman just continues to sit there. Light speed hits. I'm screaming. I said, hit it, Chewie. She does nothing. Never says a word. Carly's over there dying. I'm like, hey, if it's blinking, push it. Carly's dying laughing. They continue to sit there. She puts her hand on the stick, just pushes it forward to go downwards, and holds it there the entire ride. We're just crashing into stuff. So I'm just like fed up. I'm like, oh my God, just let me do it. So
this is a mutiny.
Yeah, seriously. The gunners aren't doing their job. So I am pushing all of my engineering functions and stuff, and I start pushing the buttons of the guy in front of me who's supposed to be, the gunner. So I'm doing both jobs. Carly's over here pushing all her buttons, and the other three of them are just, they just sat there. So I'm back there going, and they don't get my jokes. They don't understand Star Wars, nothing. So that was pretty interesting. Experience I hope I never have to go through again with somebody that doesn't know anything about Star Wars or what they're on or have any concept of what the deal was. So,
although to be fair, you do the same thing on the Bugs Life ride and
that's true.
The Dumbo, the teacups.
Dumbo,
you know how to stir a teacup.
That's
do it right.
You're not spinning it right. That's true. So good point. So, but no, it was a really good trip. We did have a lot of fun. We had some really neat experiences, did some new stuff. Even though it was different, we overcame. We did not purchase, if anybody's wondering, any lightning lane passes. We just did standby line. We did not use the Genie service that is new. So, call it out a protest or whatever have you. I just wasn't willing to pay extra for things I used to get. At least, if I didn't have to. So I'll wait an extra 10 minutes in a line or whatever. So, but yeah, good trip. Can't wait to do it again, guys. Can't wait to go back. I'm ready.
That too or bust.
That's right. So
yeah, like we said, there's a 2-hour detailed breakdown of everything on the Patreon page. So thank you for your attention. We're going to try to do more stuff like that and have plenty of bonus stuff to make it worth your while if you'd like to support us. And since we've switched over to the new system, we got to welcome our first patron. Who else could it be? Mr. Jesse Starcher jumped in immediately to become a patron once again. Old-time patron, now the first of the new wave of patronage. So thank you very much, Jesse.
The OJ.
We hope to be worthy of your patronage.
Yeah, that's right. I was excited when I got that notification that we had somebody sign up and I saw the first person was Jesse. I was like, shh. I couldn't imagine it being anybody else.
I can't imagine it will be.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone else joining. So I think we've hit it.
So,
but we're not going to hit you over the head and beg you and make every episode a long commercial for it. But we're trying to do some extra, and we'll see where it goes. We'll see what you want from it and what we can provide to it. And it'll, like everything else on the show, will evolve into something.
Right. We don't know what, but it'll happen. Yeah, while I was in Florida, you guys recorded an episode, and I cut in there for a few seconds just to make sure. My goal was I wanted to see if I could get into it easily, and I wanted to make sure everything was working properly. So, and it was. Everything worked the way it was supposed to. There was no issues, and you guys put an episode together, a long episode together. I freaked out a little bit when I heard 17 was the number of picks we were going to do, and I thought, oh my God, 17 sounds like a lot. And but it was a good episode.
I thought, why didn't we just round it up to 20? We each could have one extra pick and just call it 20, and even 20.
Right. So I will say, after listening and editing that episode, my list, had I been present, I think would have been closer to Jordan's, because when I think Western also, I think of all those old 50s and 60s movies, or even before that, even the black and whites, just because that's what my dad watched, that's what my grandfather watched, and that's just what comes to mind. However, I definitely would have had Three Amigos on the list.
I was pretty safe in guessing that.
Good call. And I can't believe you guys bash Young Guns. That's terrible.
It is terrible.
It would have definitely been at the top of my list. And I was a little surprised how modern it was on your picks for the most part. But I love The Searchers. It was a great pick. I could have went with Sons of Katie Elder. As far as John Wayne movies go, nobody mentioned. You did mention Dances with Wolves briefly. I was a little surprised it wasn't on anybody's list.
That's a bad movie.
That's one I haven't seen in a really long time. But I just remember all the.
Went on a double date to Dances with Wolves, and
you and a wolf.
Yes, me and a wolf. I just remember I really made my friend laugh. We were sitting in the theater, and the guy, there's some line where like somebody says, "I must tell 10 bears," which was some Indian's name, and I was leaned over. I was like, "First, you got to find 10 bears."
So I was a little surprised by that. There was no American Tell 5 Goes West, guys. I mean, come on. No honorable mention for that. City Slickers, guys.
That's not a freaking. I guess it's a Western, but it didn't need to be on that. Maybe it'll make the baseball movie list.
Okay. And I definitely would have on my list. I definitely would have had the Apple Dumpling Gang, Disney classic, Don Knotts, and
Tim
Conway, and the guy that played the Hulk. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. So, little surprised you left some of those out, but
Bill Bixby.
Bill Bixby, that's what it is. Bill Bixby.
I wanted to say Bruce Boxleitner, but I knew that wasn't right.
Scarecrow.
So yeah, but it was a really good episode. Thanks for Jared for filling in and working on that and making a good show. So
yeah, I was really happy with what we ended up with. So if that one scared you away, you hadn't listened to it because it was long, or you're not a Western fan, like I was still happy with what we ended up with. So I think it's worth a listen. And some movies like I hadn't seen in a long time, or maybe even hadn't seen at all. Like it's a good reminder. And now once we do these lists, then I start seeing this stuff. Like I've seen all these movies pop up on cable in the week since, and I want to rewatch all of these like after we've talked about them. So I think that's our public service to you, is like reminding you that there's some excellent movies out there to get to. Speaking of movies, we could talk about some other movies.
Save Martha! Puny God.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. I'm Batman.
Kneel before Zod! On the roof!
Said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So what's it gonna be, huh? Long sullen silence? Or mean comment? Go on.
You got me in a box here.
Yeah.
What's new in the movie universe?
I watched Eternals today. It's opening day.
As we record, it has just opened, and not blowing the doors off. Not getting great reviews. I'm not hearing a lot of positive buzz for it, but
Yeah, most reviews I saw this week from critics were, like, it's And then it got bombed by the schmucks online. They didn't like it because apparently there's a gay scene in the movie, so they had to go try to crush it on Rotten Tomatoes.
Clutch those pearls.
They had to go on there and review a movie they hadn't seen and try to trash it. So that knocked the Rotten Tomatoes score down like I care. And I went with my son today and went and saw it. So I'll give you my non-spoilery take. You saw previews, I'm sure, right?
I actually watched. I mentioned this. I watched about a 10-minute preview they were playing at Hollywood.
Yeah, you
Studios.
really saw the hell out of it.
So
you saw a lot.
Yeah. So
what preview? I don't want to say anything if you didn't see any.
I'm sure I saw the first trailer, but I haven't paid any attention since.
Yeah.
I try not to read as much.
Right.
So.
I'm not spoiling anything.
But I have dug out all the Eternals comics I have, and I've been trying to read some stuff before I watch it to have some sense of what these characters are, because it's something I have very little familiar with.
Prepared by listening to Jesse Starcher and some dude talk about the Neil Gaiman series on Source Material.
It's laying on my nightstand right now. I'm going to read that this week.
It was a excellent little update. I hadn't read that in forever, and what they thought of that. So check that out if you want a little refresher before you watch the movie. But
the basic plot is.
Don't even say anything.
What?
Really, I didn't know any of this, and I was happy about it.
Okay. All right.
Okay, seriously, I specifically did not want to know plot before I watched it, and you don't need to know it.
You didn't watch any of the previews at all?
I watched like the first trailer, like Jordan said, and then after I watched the movie tonight, I watched the final trailer and was super glad I had not watched the final trailer.
Okay.
Because they tell you stuff I did not know going into the movie. So anyway, so I always try to avoid the last week of trailers because they just show you everything. Anyway, I would say Gemma Chan is a beautiful woman. Wow. It makes, I honestly didn't even know who was playing who at all.
She plays Cersei.
Yeah, but I didn't even know that going into it. Like nothing. But I started remembering all these.
That's true. Like this is probably the least I know about any Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Normally I'm barraged with it, and you've seen all the costumes through the action figures that have leaked. Like even if you're not actively looking for it, like this stuff just reaches you. But this movie I literally know nothing about.
So what I would say is that's a cool way to go into it because it was fun to learn about these characters, and it helped to have known, had a little history with it. But I'm not a cosmic guy, never have been. And so Eternals was always a little too cosmic for me.
Street level Seth, that's what they've always called it.
That's what exactly, yeah. It's always been my nickname. Jon Snow's in it. I knew he was going to be in it, and what character he plays, most people know. If you don't, I won't tell you. But so I was excited about that. Being the little foreshadowing that was going on there, but it was just neat to learn about it. Honestly, there's plenty to complain about as far as the way the movie looks and how it's got a little bit of that DC feel as far as like Superman-y stuff, and but I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was super like I was worried as much when I would read cosmic stuff when I was younger. It's like I didn't understand what was going on most of the time. Like I can read it now and like slow down and really pay attention, but it was just like I wasn't that interested in it, and I would just kind of breeze through it and never knew what was going on. And this was very digestible and easy to understand. Like anybody is going to be able to understand what's going on in this.
That was my worry, that A, the cosmic mumbo jumbo, and B, the size of the cast.
Yeah.
That they were just going to throw way too much at you, and it would be a big mess. So I'm glad
there is one character that's not in the final battle, and for no reason, except that I think they just were like, there's too many people. And I was like, oh, they'll show up at the end. Nope. Like it was just like, we're just not going to have them there because there's too many freaking people. But it was good. It was easy to follow. I thought everybody did a good job. And I think because I'd heard so many meh reviews all week that maybe that helped me, but I really enjoyed it. And the biggest thing is there are two a mid credits and post credits scene. I had not been spoiled on them. One I could have predicted. The other one I could not have predicted, and it was so my era of comics that I was like, yes. I was really happy with it. Like I was just like, both of them were right in my era of starting to read comics. So I don't know if anybody will have enjoyed it more than me when they had a couple cameos at the end. I was like, yes, this was awesome. So anyway, it was good. I liked it.
That's where I'm at. My expectations are so low that I'm hoping to just go in and enjoy it. Like I don't have any expectations for it. The critics have bashed it, so I'm not expecting a masterpiece. So if I can just go in and enjoy that's what you should.
It's not a masterpiece, but she did a good job of making like these cosmic beings make them feel like people, to like bring it down to earth, and that was good. So I think you'll like it.
And you, Seth, were not here during our review of Shang-Chi, so we never really got your feedback. Was that one? Did that one pay off for you too?
I like that. I like that as well. I did not like the final battle. I don't. It didn't do it for me, but I did like the movie overall. So yeah, it was good. Good enough. Good enough. So we'll talk more about Eternals after you guys see it. See what you think. Well, I saw Dune. Did you finish Dune? You said you weren't feeling it.
Yeah, I watched it all in one sitting, but yeah, that first half, they got me in the first half, as I believe, as the man said. Like I was just not into it. I liked it more the longer it went on, and the stuff out in the desert got my interest more excited. But yeah, I think we talked before that I'm just not. That's not my wheelhouse. The ancient bloodlines and medieval sort of hierarchies and epic fantasy is just not my cup of tea. So it's already a little bit difficult for me going in to get hyped about it. So I thought that it was really well made, like the effects, the grandeur of it, the scale of it, the scope of it. I was really impressed with the look. I liked all the actors. It wasn't my.
It's hardcore.
Not my kind of sci-fi. Yeah.
It's hardcore fantasy sci-fi, and I mean they did it great, but it's kind of. I mean it's pretty easy to follow. Also, as why I thought. But it was just it's pretty. It lacks a little bit of heart. It misses catching some of that from the book, but it's so well done. Otherwise, it's just very. It's got a lot of rough edges as far as
I watched it on
hard
TV.
Sci-fi. Yeah,
I watched it on TV in my living room, and if the theater experience may have wrapped me up, it was a spectacle.
Yeah. I went and saw it at the theater just because and it was worth it. I was glad I did, but I rewatched it at home with subtitles on to catch everything they were saying, and I'd read the book. The only thing I want to go, I could talk about it a lot. That's why I read the book. I mean, there's a lot of comparisons I can make, but the main thing I want to say, because I've heard a lot of people talking about the Chosen One thing, and first off, this is the blueprint. Like all these fantasy books and Star Wars and Wheel of Time and everything, comes from this. This is $6 million man. All of these things. Dune is the blueprint, and so first
you should make another video.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if people, want to complain like, oh, we've seen this before, well, this was where they got it.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's not what you think it is. Like everyone wants to say, like, oh, this guy is supposedly the, Timothy Chalamet's character, Paul Atreides, is like he's the chosen one. He's going to have all the power, and everybody, all the prophecies are about him, and da 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 da. But they're not paying attention, and they haven't seen the second half of this or where it goes. But they do lean on this in the movie. They make a lot of comments. He does. His character in particular points out that's not prophecy. That's propaganda. He blamed, those people put that out there, and it's a more nuanced story than what people took from it. From what I'm seeing in the reviews, I'm like, no, it's not the Chosen One. They tell you right off that propaganda was put out there. That doesn't mean it's true. He even says they're not, they're saying what you guys told them, So anyway, it's a little more nuanced.
Yeah,
that's been one of the complaints I've heard of, like the whole quote unquote white savior narrative.
Yeah,
it's a handsome young white guy has to come and save these native people, like that kind of idea. But I always assumed there was more to it, that it was more of almost a critique of that, or a playing off your expectations of that narrative to do something different.
Yeah, that's all kind of Arthurian legend stuff, but I remember watching the original Dune movie from the 80s and never understanding it. Because I was probably too young, and maybe the movie wasn't all that great and didn't follow the book all that well. But
it didn't do bad. It follows it pretty. Sorry, go ahead.
I turned it on last night, and about 5 minutes we were sitting there, and I was just like, nope.
It's very clinical. I know there's no way I would think you would like it. It's very clinical. This is, but he's such a good director as far as being able to create an entire, this worlds,
Yeah.
It's so amazing. Everything's bigger in that future. I like that. We need bigger things. Every ship needs to be as big as a freaking football stadium. I didn't know that till I saw it. I was like, why are all our planes so big?
The worms are pretty big too. Good size worms. Yeah, that hit me of like, I didn't feel like the movie did enough. Because the idea, okay, there are these bad guys who are exploiting this planet and taking their resources and are being cruel to the inhabitants, and then we're going to come in and we're the good guys who are going to exploit your natural resources, and we'll be nice to you as we exploit.
But that's the Chosen One thing and stuff. It's like literally that's what they say to who will be our oppressor next. You guys are the good guys. You're oppressing us also.
So yeah, I was sure that's where it was going and the point it was trying to make, but I didn't feel like it had quite done. Like I said, we're just to the halfway point at least so far. So,
but they did greenlight a second movie.
Yeah, that felt like a little bit of bait and switch. I never saw the term Part 1 until the movie started, and then it said Dune Part 1. Like nowhere in the advertising or the run up to this was it like, hey, here's the first of these movies.
I mean, it was known, but it wasn't advertised.
Yeah.
Absolutely no, not till it was hit the screen.
if you're a fan of the book and have loved this property for years, I'm sure. Oh, well, of course, I saw fans arguing back and forth of like they left out this tiny little nuance and this and that and the other. So it's never going to capture the whole thing. But I think I hope that it.
I see there are like a couple things, but man, that's the kind of stuff that you would only be able to fit into a TV series. Movies you can only have so much time. I thought it was good.
Actually, my brother Justin pointed out there was the scene. He was annoyed they left out
the dinner scene.
End.
Oh no.
The end battle. I won't explain the whole thing, but what happens, and he sheds a tear. And it's that idea of moisture, and it's like he's like that would have added so much to that scene, and it's just, it wasn't a long, drawn out thing they could have added in, but
there is stuff they could have done, but overall, it's a solid B. What else? We went and saw a movie.
Yeah,
we made a road trip. What? Cliff's not the only one that goes places.
Yes, we drove through a monsoon.
Yeah.
And Halloween weekend in Athens.
Yeah, we went to the Athena cinemas and saw Last Night in Soho. Me and Jordan and Nick, my son. It was way more people there than I'm used to when I go there. Usually there's like 3 people in the theater.
And they were all very tall.
Yes. They were all very tall.
Sitting right in front of us.
So
this is Edgar Wright. So, the guy who made Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and all these hilarious, amazing genre movies. Makes it's still a genre movie, but it's not that sort of thing. It's a more straight up sort of. I feel like it was marketed as a thriller, like a psychological drama, but it almost skewed straight to horror. Like it was, I would more classify it as a horror movie, I think.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it all week. Like, not all the time, just like off and on thinking what I thought of it. Honestly, the last third of the movie got confusing as it was like such a jumble. I feel like there's just like he just a couple things he could have done different to make more sense, at least to me. But I like the style of it.
Oh yeah. He always has a great soundtrack. He has a great visual eye. The actors were great. This was Anya Taylor-Joy, Thomasin McKenzie, and Doctor Who's Matt Smith, along with a few. Because the idea is it's a young girl from the, country bumpkin moves to London to go to fashion school, and she has been obsessed with the London in the 1960s, and that mystique of swinging London, like that. There's a whole aura of that time period. So he also casts Terrence Stamp and Diana Rigg and a few other actresses who were in movies at that time, who were part of that mystique and that cool 60s vibe as now older versions of themselves. So that's a nice bit of stunt casting in that direction. But yeah, it's the first half and the build up was super strong. I feel like the third act kind of dropped the ball a little bit, and I don't know if it zigged when it should have zagged, or did something that didn't quite pay off. But it didn't make me dislike the movie, but there was just I don't know, it didn't end with a great flourish, I guess.
Yeah. Still worth watching. It was worth watching. Yeah, it was definitely it took you there back to the 60s. And the whole the scene with all the mirrors and switching back and forth between the girls, like I'm sure I'd heard it was done like practically and just camera tricks and things, and that was really neat to see. I like when people do that stuff. That's definitely something he's good at. So
and the undercurrent of the whole thing, I thought, felt very timely. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but it it gives you that idea, because the movie starts and she has stars in her eyes and like, oh, if only the world could be like it was in the 60s where everything was
like I said
great.
earlier, nostalgia is a powerful drug.
Yeah. And then the movie starts that way. You're like, yeah, the 60s were the best, man. And then it switches and you think there was no time that was perfect. And that whole idea, this is the thing that always sticks in my head about and why I am incapable of joy and enjoying things. That like there's nothing you love or enjoy that isn't haunted by evil old white dudes. Everything, you know, I love baseball. You know, the history of baseball is full of the worst a-holes in the world being exploited. You know, there was racism and violence and terrible stuff. You know, anything, the comic book industry, it's full of exploitation, people taking advantage of each other, screwing each other over, stealing anything they could. Like anything you can name that's great, there's a darker history of people lying, cheating, and stealing to make it that way. So this movie definitely points that out as well. It's like underneath the glitz and the good aspects is always some kind of rotten core that I feel like I'm not I feel like I'm torpedoing the vibes here, but I won't say the Walt Disney Corporation, because I'm sure they are nothing.
Oh yeah, there's no. They're not hiding anything under any rugs there. So
you don't want to know what's between the cup and the saucer.
That's true.
Oh.
So a feel-good family movie for you.
Oh, I saw the new James Bond movie too.
Ooh.
I watched a lot of movies this month. So what was it was the 5th Daniel Craig as Bond, his final Bond movie. And I don't think you guys are Bond people, are you?
Mm-mm.
I was for a time when I was younger. I really loved the old ones and watched all the classics.
It's funny when we talked about Westerns, I was talking about sitting on Saturday afternoon eating peanuts watching a Western. I was like, that's what we were either watching a Western or we were watching a James Bond movie. You know, one of the old Roger Moores or Sean Connery's. Like, that's what you did. Because there was nothing else. But I've always liked Bond. I prefer Mission Impossible, but I like all the gadgets and the stuff. And this just became more of an overarching story, more serialized of a thing with him. It definitely had, with Casino Royale it was about the same time, just after the Bourne franchise started. So it was all about running through walls and, being a more hands-on shaky cam Bond. And that's probably the best one is Casino Royale of his, but then it got kind of sloppy in there, and then here at the end they're trying to tie everything together and of his story to give it the feels, to not make it a standalone like most Bonds. But I really liked it. I rewatched Spectre, which the 4th one, because it goes Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, which sucks. Skyfall was pretty good. Then Spectre is fine. And then this, No Time to Die. But I rewatched Spectre, and I would recommend it if you wanted to go into this one and enjoy it more, really remember everything. But I thought this was really good. And there's I wouldn't want to spoil it. There's unexpected stuff towards the end. Like I was, pretty caught off guard, but I loved it. Great use of the Aston Martin, one of the great movie vehicles, and and Ana de Armas is only in it for 10 minutes, and she steals the show. Like she's so great and gorgeous, and just kicking butt, and I think she's going to earn herself some action roles in the future. So it was good. If you like Bond, it was one of the good ones, I think.
That scares me away. That you have to add continuity to everything.
Yeah.
You have to remember what happened to his wife and this happened and all that.
But it's the thing that it's retroactive continuity. It's not the smoothness of if they had planned a 5-picture Bond that would have been. It's like I equate when people do this to, instead of filming something in slow-mo, you just slow down the original footage and it always looks stuttery. That's what this was like. It wasn't smooth like it had been planned from the beginning.
But it was never like, oh, I want to watch Moonraker. What do I need to know? Do I need to watch Thunderball for it? Like that was never a thing.
Well, you need to decide how attached to the moon you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anybody else watch any other movies?
It was spooky season, so I watched some horror movies, but nothing really need to dive into. I watched the Rosemary's Baby for the first time.
Oh wow!
So I got to see the origin of Nana Rose's Tanis root.
Yes.
There was a little bit of that vibe going on in that Edgar Wright movie.
Yeah.
But what'd you think?
It was good. It was very of its time for sure, but
it holds up.
Yeah, it does.
That snuck into my top 100, I think. I don't know if it'd still be there, but it was always, I appreciate a movie that holds up that long later. I like that.
I kind of hoped it would have been a little more subtle than I just remember the end. The end makes it very. The end makes it very obvious that what happened happened. I kind of wish there would have been a little more doubt to. Was she just, is she paranoid? It's like, no, this is.
And I personally absolutely disagree. I love that they went there. That's thrilling to me. Let's not make it ambiguous. Let's just freaking do it. Yeah. Yep.
And I rewatched The Haunting because I read Haunting of Hill House. I picked up that novel earlier this year at a used book sale. I said I always wanted to read that, so I reread the novel by Shirley Jackson, and then watched the 1963 movie that was an adaptation of it. Right. Which I'd watched that movie before. After watching The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix, I was interested in the original story. So this was I wanted to rewatch it after reading the book, and it's pretty close to the book. It's Robert Wise was a director who did Sound of Music and West Side Story and a ton of other things. So very pedigreed filmmaker made this, what could have been a cheap haunted house movie and became a very classic kind of psychological thriller thing. But the movie X's out all of the gay subtext, because the book has the main character kind of becomes obsessed. Eleanor becomes obsessed with Theo, and this bohemian hippie chick who kind of lives her own life, and she's this very repressed, introverted woman. And you can read it as that, she just wants to be free like Theo is, but there's some subtext there that could be more than that, where the movie has none of that, where she kind of falls in love with the doctor. And there's sort of a more traditional romantic angle to it, but there's still a little bit in the movie. You can read some things into it, but it was for a horror movie from 1963. I was laying there in bed that night and still a little bit of the willies that it left. So
the willies. That needs to make a comeback.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched a Western. We had talked all those Westerns, and I watched a Western came out this week on Netflix. The Harder They Fall, I think was what it was called.
Yeah, that's had some buzz behind it.
Open it.
Please.
Rufus Buck.
Man, old devil, this gonna be Buck's last day amongst the living.
What exactly he do to you? Call it a professional robbery.
I know who you are. That love, outlaw, hunts down those who trespass against him with no mercy.
Where is he?
Where is who?
Your boss.
My boss. Clearly, you don't know me. I heard Rufus Buck was back.
This ain't no road to ask a friend to travel.
You think Destiny's coming to you?
My guns go back.
Yeah, it's like almost all black cast, and Jonathan Majors, who's great, Zazie Beetz, Idris Elba, Regina King, Delroy Lindo, Lakeith Stanfield. Are you sold yet? I mean, come on. All it's super stylized. All just very tons of music. And, I mean, it's I don't know. It's just a super stylized Western, but it was better than I thought it was going to be. Honestly, I think you'll like it.
Did you ever see that? I think it was a 90s. I'm pretty sure it was a 90s movie. Mario Van Peebles. It was called Posse.
I like to think I've never seen. Yeah, I knew what you were going to say, Posse. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like any Mario Van Peebles I've ever seen, I've blocked out of my head. Like I don't remember seeing any of it. I could picture the Posse movie poster.
Yeah, I figured you didn't remember it since it wasn't on your list. So
no, yeah, that's why it wasn't on my list because I didn't remember it.
Yeah, I definitely want to check this one out for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Is that it? Do we do the movies?
Yeah, that's probably about an hour. But this is super old news. But did anyone have any thoughts about anything from DC Fandom? That was from a while back. We got. I can run down real quick. We got
remind me.
Full trailer for the Batman, which again looked very stylish, pretty cool. We got a trailer for Peacemaker on HBO Max.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to check that show out when it comes out. We had just watched. I'm very unprepared tonight. We watched a movie with John Cena in it not too long ago. That was not the Suicide Squad, but it was like it was a comedy. He plays him in this. He has a wife that was running to another couple on vacation, and they kind of play these crazy characters. But it just reminded me when I saw the preview of Peacemaker, it reminded me of that movie. It was something Vacation or something.
Vacation Friends or something.
Yeah, Vacation Friends. Yes, that's what it was. So, but I'll check it out. We got the trailer for the first trailer or teaser trailer for Black Adam there too. So,
which
The Rock
for a very light movie that Shazam was, this looked much
the opposite.
darker.
The opposite.
We got a little behind the scenes featurette for Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it. First thing I thought was, man, this reminds me how much I did not like Shazam, and I probably will not even watch this next one. No, thank you.
I liked Shazam. Carly really liked it too, so I'm sure I'll check it out.
I kind of worry throwing in the whole Marvel family for a whole movie.
Yeah.
Again, you're going to be a little overloaded on.
Yeah, I wondered that too, and I kind of questioned it. Like, are we being duped a little bit? Have we pretty much seen most of what they're in? I mean, are they really in the entire movie or not? So.
And we got a quick little tease for Flash, Ezra Miller's Flash. We heard Michael Keaton's voiceover, and we got a little tease of the Batmobile. So this is going to be that multiverse hopping sort of movie, which again, I thought this is the first movie. We've not established a continuity from which to jump forward and backwards through the multiverse. Like, again, DC wants to skip ahead 10 steps and
Yeah.
and
Well,
get
I mean,
all the fun stuff.
You know, we had Justice League and Batman versus Superman, but yeah, no, I don't know anybody that is really excited about Ezra Miller's Flash movie anyways, so.
The only note I took on that was so many lines on the suit. I'm not talking about the piping. There's just so many lines, and it's so busy. That suit is so busy. Get over it. All right, there was video game stuff and cartoon stuff, and Flash has gold boots for season 8 and all that stuff. But Titans was renewed for season 4. Doom Patrol renewed for season 4. Young Justice Phantoms.
That is actually available right now.
Yeah, that stealth dropped when they announced that season 4 was coming. They dropped the first 2 episodes on HBO Max.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, and I haven't started Doom Patrol yet. I did finish Titans yesterday, and I'm really excited about Doom Patrol season 2. So I'll leave it at that.
So that was all the footage that we got. We got a few things of concept art. Some concept art for Batgirl, HBO Max, and Blue Beetle on HBO Max. And the first picture from Sandman of Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer. And then some Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom concept art.
Yeah.
There wasn't any real footage to show from that stuff, but they're showing that they're working on it and teasing it. And then the biggest thing that for some reason made the most news was Superman's motto being updated from Truth, Justice, and the American Way. It is now Truth, Justice, and a Better Tomorrow, which to me sounded perfect. That's so perfect. He is the man of tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And that's such a great.
It's very
change.
Positive. Yeah. I
don't know. And that whole you're changing the original, that idea, a lot of stuff from Superman mythology that started in the radio serials of the 40s. That's not even from the comics. Truth, Justice, and the American Way. That's from the radio. That was not a comic book invention, along with Kryptonite and a whole bunch of other stuff that came from the radio and not the comic origin. So I think that's, if you're going to update something like that and make it more modern and inclusive, that a better tomorrow. How do you argue with a better
less
tomorrow?
Less propaganda, more good vibes.
So that's Ka-Pow. We're here for good vibes only. We're down with that.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
Cool. We did it.
Hooray. We like movies. We like Disney. And we like our patrons.
That's right.
And that's an hour.
In that order.
And that's an hour. And we like talking over Zoom for unlimited amounts of time.
That's my favorite part.
It's the best.
We love our listeners. We love people who comment, subscribe, whatever you got to do. However you find us, we appreciate it. And we will be back soon with more. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. We'll never be back. Bye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, @gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/udamwithkpp for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share. Yeah.
I understand, like, my broke ass ain't paying for it. It's